Okay, wow.
Okay. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that a notice of this meeting was made by posting on bulletin board, Town Hall, and mailing to the officially designated newspapers a list of the meeting dates annually indicating that this meeting would take place at the Town Hall at 7 p.m. on Monday, May 1st, 2023.
Chandra Harjani,
Here.
Amy Lawrence,
Here.
Gary Rosen,
Here.
Regina Truitt,
Here.
Joseph Caulfield,
Here.
Jessica Glad.
Here.
There are no minutes.
Okay. So we are going to start with the memorializations. The first one is calendar 388922, Cornelius and Dongmei Guth, 9 Bailey Road, Melbourne.
Eligible are Chandru, Amy, Gary, Regina. That's it.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Sure, I'll move approval calendar 3889-22.
A second?
I can say.
Chandru Harjani,
Fine.
Amy Lawrence,
Yes.
Gary Rosen,
Yes.
Regina Truitt.
Yes. Okay, next up is calendar 3890-22, Ben and Helen Hall, 83 Maple Street in Melbourne.
Same people are eligible.
Okay, do I have a motion? Regina?
I'll
Okay,
motion for approval of calendar number 3890-22.
and a
I can
second?
second.
Great,
Chandru Harjani,
Yes.
Amy Lawrence,
Yes.
Gary Rosen,
Yes.
Regina Truitt.
Yes.
okay, next we have calendar 3883-22, Ramesh Lakshminarayan, 92 Myrtle Avenue, Melbourne.
Same people are eligible.
Motion?
I'll move to approve the memorialization for calendar number 3883-22.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Chandru Harjani,
Yes.
Amy Lawrence,
Yes.
Gary Rosen,
Yes.
Regina Truitt.
Yes.
And last up is calendar 3912-22, Mike Levine, 60 Lakeview Avenue, Short Hills.
Eligible are Chandru, Gary, and Regina.
Do I-
I can move approval for calendar 3912-22.
And I'll second.
Chandru Harjani,
Yes.
Gary Rosen,
Yes.
Regina Truitt.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to move on. Should I make a announcement about calendar 3910-22? The location is 44 Essex Street and the applicant is 111 Holdings LLC. I just don't remember when we moved that to. That case is not going to be on the agenda for tonight. And
Yeah, Eileen, what's the date it's going to be carried
It
to?
is July 17th.
that's going to be moved to the July 17th, 2023 meeting. So if anyone is here for that, that will be back on for July 17th.
And no further notice will be provided by the applicant for that. This is your notice.
Okay. So we are going to start with calendar 3921-23. The property location is 1060 Morris Turnpike, and the applicant is Shakib Anwar.
Yeah. You just raise your right, no, you can, come on, you can stand. Anyone who's going to testify, just raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm testimony you're about to give in tonight's proceedings to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Okay, just state your names and spell your names, please.
Shakib Anwar,
Yes.
SHAKEEB ANWAR.
Ephraim, IFRAHNAEEN.
Thank you.
And it's just the two of you up
Yes.
here tonight? Okay. So why don't you start by telling us why you are here?
Sure, so we are here to request an approval of a 6-foot vinyl fence in the front yard at the property at our house at 1060 Morris Turnpike. And really, so there are two categories why we think it merits a variance approval. So the first one, I would say, is around heightened health and safety concerns. And the second one is around the prior precedents. We actually have
Are we gonna mark this as exhibit A?
Let's see what it is.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna mark as A1 with today's date, which is May 1st, 2023. A 7-page handout by the applicant consisting of some narrative on the first page and photos over the remaining pages. And so during your presentation, if you want to refer to this handout, it should be referred to as A1, okay, with the various pages.
Okay, so do you want to go through what
Yeah.
we're looking at?
Sure. So there's really two categories. So I'll start with the first one, why this merits a variance approval. The first one is the heightened safety and health concerns, and there are various reasons why we think that's important. The first one is the property is located directly in front of a highway, which is an official 45-mile highway, where you can normally see cars driving around 60 miles per hour. There are some photos within the A1 variance document on Exhibit A. You can see the speed limit as well as the actual outlook of the highway itself. And within that same variance document on Exhibit D, you can Exhibit C and D on the last page. You can also see some photos around how the property looks from the front of the highway as well as the actual property photos. So the reason to highlight it is, you can't let your kids, and even me as an adult, I can't go in front of the house comfortably, because if the cars are driving at 60 miles an hour without any obstruction, there's a risk that, if someone gets on the highway, then there's no coming back if there's a cars. And secondly, there's a risk around, if the cars can, there's an accident or something, and cars can come to the highway as well as on our driveway as well. And then especially with the kids, we can't let them use the front yard. And it's kind of the unique characteristic of the property. So 30% of our property in the lot size, which is about 0.3 acre, is around the front yard, is considered the front yard. So it's kind of a big part of our property that's pretty much unusable at this point. The second item I want to highlight is the excessive wildlife activity. And I'm not just talking about 1 or 2 deers roaming around, leaving in 10 minutes. I'm talking about, it's basically the herds of deers, as you can see on Exhibit B. They made it pretty much their regular feeding ground. So they come in here, stay on the property for 4 to 6 hours at times. And there are herd deers, which consist from 4 to 8 deers anytime. They stay there in the property. If you try to, make them go away, they charge at you. So there's a heightened risk from that aspect. And the property is located very close to the Zone C, which is a conservation area next to part of the township. So there's a kind of heightened risk from that perspective as well. There's also, it came to our attention that there's an elevated risk of criminal activity because of the easy access to the property from the highway. So anyone can bring their big trucks, anything, and kind of load it up and leave pretty quickly without any obstruction. And as again, I can refer you to Exhibit D, which shows you how easy it is to enter the property from direct access to the highway and leave. And then kind of the last part of the health and safety is around the littering and normal, kind of routine considerations, which, as you can see, if you're next to a highway, there's a lot of litter, which is your plastic bags, rubbish, all that stuff that can get into your on your driveway, as well as, the rest of the property. And really, it's kind of our routine procedure not to clean our own driveway from all the litter that's coming from the highway. So that's, I would say, is, kind of the main areas of health and safety considerations. If there are no questions, I can move to the second part, which is around the neighborhood characteristics and precedents in the prior various approvals.
Okay, why don't we move on to that and then we can ask questions?
Sure. So the second part highlights is, based on, if you go on the highway, all the houses on the highway have 6-foot fences or masonry wall, which they have obtained. Some of them obtained prior variance approval, which is available on the actual website or township website as well. And really, I think the items that they highlighted are not very different than what we are highlighting here. Secondly, when we think about the impact to the general public and the public detriment, in my view, there is literally no detriment because there is no walkway. No one can walk from the public and walk on that next to our house. There's no walkways right next to the highway, so I don't expect there's going to be any public detriment or impact to the general neighborhood. And then I think the last point to add is, I think instead of the detriment, us installing a fence really adds to the actual the quality and the beauty of the neighborhoods, because you're now adding a curb appeal. You can show this a decorative vinyl fence rather than an empty area sitting next to a highway. So I think it's kind of counteractive to the detriment. So there's really some of the areas that I wanted to highlight, but happy to take any questions that you guys may have.
The last page of the exhibit, this white fence, is that the type of fence that you're proposing?
Yes.
So what is on that last page, is this supposed to depict the 6-foot vinyl fence?
Yes.
Is this a picture of one of the neighbors' homes or is this?
This is just an example of the fence that we are looking to get on the property. This is the one that we liked, and I think it blends well into the natural, the quality and I guess the neighborhood characteristics.
So where would this fence go? And it's a little hard to tell from the pictures.
So I think that's, so I think as part of the variance package, you guys have the survey copy. So maybe I can just point you to the survey copy.
Right.
So I think it marks the front of the property, the area near the highway, as well as there's a part around on the side, which is considered front yard, but so it's really kind of the side of the house.
So I think Gary is asking where specifically, if you look at the survey and you've identified in red the areas where you intend to install the fence.
Yep.
Where is the fence going to go in relation to, for example, the trees that are depicted on the last page of your A1 handout?
Yeah, so I think it's marked on the survey. I think there's a yellow highlighted part that I think I need marked, which says the area that we need the variance approval.
I don't-
Yeah.
You don't see it? Okay.
But it's going to be behind the trees.
Yeah, it's going to be behind the trees, yeah.
Okay, so, and what's the color of the fence gonna be?
White.
Does the entire fence, Eileen, need variance approval, or is it just
No,
a
the only
small
portion
portion of
that
it?
needs variance approval is, if you see the easement, that's kind of dissecting the property it runs.
Mhm.
It's actually the part that starts where the corner of the house is, if you were to carry it over to the side lot line. So it's that portion coming down along Route 24 and then back up and outlining the driveway. The remainder of the fence towards the back and the side does not need variance removal. It's just the part that comes forward of the house.
Sorry, I was, that's forward of the house where the easement, oh, that's, thank you.
And how are you getting the car in, if that's where the fence is gonna go? You got a
So we're
gate?
going to have a driveway gate on a gate, yeah.
And what's the driveway? Is there a picture that depicts what the driveway gate's gonna look like?
I don't have a picture, but it's again going to be a wide gate, kind of which plan goes with the rest of the fence. It's going to be a wide gate.
So the approval is required just on the red marking here, which is parallel to.
It's getting passed down.
Right, but also
Oh,
the
there is
easement.
It's just the yellow.
So I have a question. Why does the this whole thing outlined is your lot, right?
Yeah.
Why does the fence need to come all the way up to the highway?
Because that's still part of our front yard, and it's about, as I mentioned, 30% of the area. So it's a material part that we would like to use as part of our property, and that's why we need to get the fence approval.
How visible will the fence be from behind the tree?
This doesn't seem like
Very, very minimal, I would say, because there are big trees. There are probably 50-foot trees in front of the house, so it's going to be barely visible at all, if any.
Well, it's not really the height that's gonna change, that's gonna make it visible, it's gonna be the density of the trees, right?
Yeah, the density, yeah, you're right. Yeah, so these are big, tall, dense trees, yeah.
Question, have you considered a fence that would not need a variance approval?
So my discussion, based on Eileen's view, is the fence is not allowed at all in the front, so that's the reason we are asking for.
No fences or just no 6-foot fences?
We allow 4-foot fences on county roads. This is a state highway, so we don't make any provision in our ordinance for that because we just never did. So I wouldn't be able to approve anything without a variance, whether it's 4-foot or 6-foot, it would still require a variance in the front yard.
And does the easement affect anything? Because there's no way of getting around that. If you did it closer to the house, that wouldn't matter.
The easement, he's gonna have to put a gate across the easement anyway for the engineer to sign off on it so that they can get at it if they need to. But
So-
there's no issue with it.
So there's no way to put a fence without getting a variance?
Not in the front yard, no.
And where does the backyard begin in this property?
At wherever the house is, if you were to.
So wherever the house is, that's the
That's
backyard.
the backyard and then the side is.
But you could potentially put a fence there and not require a variance if you started with the backyard.
He is doing the entire thing.
But I know that's not
Right.
what's in front of the board, but that's just
Yeah.
a hypothetical question. You could do a fence without a variance if you just did that.
How long is this from front to the back, like the red line which is going all the way?
I think it's about
50?
probably more. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's about
100 plus 245, 133, whatever that's.
just like about
Okay.
250 to 70.
So I'm just gonna ask you some more questions about the backyard. If you just did the backyard, would that meet some of your needs for safety of the children to protect them from? the
Yeah, I
highway?
mean, I think it's going back to the point, it's not just safety of the children at this point, it's actually safety of everyone, even the adults. That's why it's important to have on the front as well, because because we are basically open to the whole highway, pretty much to the whole state. Anyone can come in through the highway, get directly into your house. There's literally no barrier from the highway to the house. Which is kind of an odd situation, because if you look at the rest of Short Hills, they all have kind of county roads and there's like protection. But in this case, it's direct access to the highway.
Yeah, I just want to add that it wouldn't, because our front door and our garage door would be outside of the fence, even if you put a fence on the back door.
But the back door would still lead to the backyard.
No, it wouldn't.
There's no, your back door doesn't lead to the backyard.
No. So if you, I don't know if you have the house.
Yeah,
on
so-
there.
yeah, so I think-
both of the entrances would be outside of the fence.
Yeah.
And that, the masonry wall to the east of your property, that's been there for a long time, the 6-foot masonry wall?
Yeah, I would think, yeah.
And the 6-foot fence that's existing, is that your neighbor's fence or?
Yeah, that's our
Okay.
neighbor's fence, yeah.
So then if you were doing your fence exactly where you wanted to put it, it would connect to your
Yes.
neighbor's fence at that one point on the right?
Yeah, it will connect to their fence.
And that existing masonry wall to the right of your property, is that was that pre-existing, is that?
It went through a variance process as well. It did get a variance approval from the board.
And I'm sorry, the gate, I didn't hear you before, the gate that you would be putting up at the driveway would be white and matching?
Yes,
The look of this,
Of the fence,
of this
yes.
final fence?
How long have you lived here?
About a year,
Yeah, so you bought that in June 2020?
yes.
2022, excuse me. Is there a reason that you may or may not know why on your survey, you have a big, is that still part of the right of way? Did they explain that to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's how it has been forever, but I don't know the exact reason, but that's how the lot was.
It looks like it's a 60-foot setback from or more than that, maybe a 7-foot setback at one point, and then maybe a 10-foot setback from the highway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we don't know the reason that how the lot was constructed.
Yeah, then you have a tax map.
Yeah. It's the map that's given us part of it, so you can see that out there.
That's my foot out of wall. It's well following that. I don't know why you have to sign it right. Do you want to see that? I was looking for the, we're at 15, I was wondering why the front of the wall is, they allowed that at that point. and Why it was set so far back, but it's still part of the. That's really nice.
It's outside the right
You wouldn't know what kind of dimension it is from that very front to the, essentially the edge of the concrete,
You mean the distance between the road and the property line?
pretty much.
There's a difference about probably like 10 feet.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess it's not depicted, just trying to.
No, it's
trying to
not, it's
No,
not.
it's not right at the edge.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
So do you have, I think I might have misunderstood an earlier answer. For the asphalt driveway to your property, do you have an easement for that?
No, that's the Seaver easement that Eileen was mentioning about. There's no easement on the driveway.
So who owns that property?
I would say state DOT.
Yeah.
That's what.
They own up to the property line.
Yeah, but just to highlight, so we're not putting the fence on that area. We're going to bring the fence and the gate back to where our property
Yeah,
line
that's
is.
what I-
Understood.
Do you have any other questions from board members? Any questions from the audience? Our big, wide audience out there. Any
Don't
comments?
forget the other.
Any comments from the audience? Okay. Board members, would you like to provide me with your comments?
Yeah, look, I don't have a particular objection to this. I can see that there is a safety issue here, being on that road. People drive on that road, and given that the fence will be behind the trees, I don't think it's going to be particularly visible. Nobody's walking by there. I think it would serve serve to mitigate some of the safety issues that have been identified. So I would be supportive.
Anyone else?
I would have the same opinion here. I think it's clearly safety issue, and I think other properties have probably done that kind of change, especially the one right next to the subject property. So I could be supportive as well. The only, from an optics point of view, I know it may not be visible as much, but I don't know what this current fence is, which is to the right, and yours is going to be a specific one. I don't know how that plays out, whether should it be matching or should it be, just from an optics, I don't know whether it's even visible.
It's
Yeah,
not,
no,
no one's gonna see it except us and our neighbors.
Clearly, I think there is a case for building a fence here.
I was going to say, when I drove by, it was impressive to me. I actually didn't even feel safe pulling over
Yeah.
to look at your house. So
Yeah.
I agree with you that there is a safety concern with the highway being right there in your house, which is kind of set back, but still it's a dangerous situation for sure. So I would be in favor of this as long as all of the easements and right of passageways, whatever, all the permits, parameters on that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll echo what Regina was saying. When I drove by, I had no place to pull over, and I realized that you when you're driving by, because of the speed limit, because of the cars whizzing past you, you can't even get a real view because you're going at minimum 45 miles per hour. So I do think that there are major safety concerns here. And I think there are unique characteristics to the property that, with the way that the house is set back, but set back from a highway that, I could absolutely approve this. So with that being said, would anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve the application for calendar number 3910-22. No, I'm sorry,
Nope, 3921.
3921-23.
I can say.
Chandru Harjani,
Yes.
Amy Lawrence,
Yes.
Gary Rosen,
Yes.
Regina Truitt,
Yes.
Joseph Caulfield,
Yes.
Jessica Glad.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
How do you pull into your driveway?
Yeah.
Very
Yes.
Survey.
I wanted to take it home.
I thought about putting it on, I'm a little scared. Yes, yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so up we have next, calendar 3922-23, the location is 1 Nottingham Road. So do you wanna
Yeah, both
swear
just
in?
raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm testimony about to give in tonight's proceeding be the truth, whole truth, and but the truth?
I do,
Your names for the record.
Monica Bayo.
and Thomas Bayo, both applicant and architect. I'll be speaking on both subjects.
Do you wanna give your qualifications as an architect?
All right, so I'm Thomas Bayo, architect. I've been in town 32 years. I have been licensed for the entire stint. I have licenses in 5 states. I've been before this board 100, maybe 200 times, and I remain in good standing with the Board of Architects.
Your qualifications have been accepted.
Thank you. All right, I'll just jump in. I have a hard stop at 8:03, which I can come back for. I only need 10 minutes. I'm appearing tonight before New Providence on Zoom, but my wife is very qualified to answer. So I'll give you background.
Have you ever testified in front of your wife?
Oh. No, I've
I just
never.
want to, make sure everybody understands the pressure.
Wait, am I still sworn in if I do?
Go ahead.
Okay, so Monica and I lived in town from 1992 to 2008. We moved in 2008 predominantly because my daughter Emily, our oldest daughter, had cerebral palsy and was attending a school in PPAC that we were getting closer to living for. Emily passed away in 2012, and since then, we have debated what to do, and our children are older. Our youngest is 23, the surviving middle daughter is 26 next month. And we're downsizing. And so we've been thinking about moving to a townhome. And this little property came on, and this is a gem. 2 more background stories, and I'll tell you about the application and the C1 variances that are involved. The architect for this house was Bernhard Muller. Bernhard Muller was born in 1873-ish and died, was married, lived in Short Hills, lived at 2 Woodcrest, and died on my birthday. And there is an incredible poetic overlap here that compelled me. When this came on the market, I knew about it. I was the president of the Historic Society for years, and I remain a trustee of the Historic Society. And I feel like I'm the one who should have been doing something for this home. It's effectively an unfinished project. It is the start of the storybook home, 1925, has been modeled for the filming of Hansel and Gretel in the 20s, and was an inspiration for Roy Disney's Winnie the Pooh, and has a little bit more history, mostly with Bernhard Muller. He's one of the 6 most important architects in town. We'll be doing an exposition on him with the Historic Society in probably later this fall. So this is Bernhard Muller's first project in Short Hills, and this was the Nottingham Property Company's sales office. It's most portrayed from the Short Hills side, and I'm sorry, I have 2 exhibits. Can I enter those exhibits?
Yep.
All right, Exhibit A1 is a photographic board prepared by me, photographs by me last Friday, and this depicts the property in its current condition, as well as its proximity to the 3 surrounding homes.
Let's mark it A1 and let's date it today's date since you just recently put it together.
And while we're on that, I'll turn it over. And I have Exhibit A2, and this is photographs of the adjacency homes. They reflect the photograph of the house on the same peninsula as ours, behind us. The property as seen from Nottingham and the property as seen from Washington. All of these homes on the peninsula have 2 front yards. The house across the street on Washington, the house across the street on Nottingham, the house next door on Nottingham, and then a third one down on Nottingham. All of these homes should have contextual vision of what we're doing. So I took photographs so you could see those homes. They're all significantly larger. And I'll mark this as A2.
Tom, do you have a tax map on your plan somewhere that references where those properties are?
I have a Google image board, which I can, now that I've entered, I can present on it, but this is Google Maps. So, let me show them first. So the subject property is right here on the peninsula. On all 3 of these, it fronts on Old Short Hills Road, Nottingham, and Washington. That's the house. 11 is right next door to me. It's 84 feet away to Nottingham. This one, this one is 107 feet away, and 1 Washington is 108 feet away. So the house is surrounded by streets. And this is if there was ever a classic C1 variance, this is it. The nature of the property provides it with only 18 and 19 feet of front yards. The additions this application came before this zoning board in 2019 by Frank Landy, the person who sold the home. This house has been vacant for 6 years and is really crying for somebody to do something with it. So we're doing the same application that was presented by Tim Klesse in 2019. The size is approximately the same, although I added about 57 square feet-ish. And I added an attic because at 2,600 and change square feet, it's still on the small side, part of that 2-car garage, so.
Sorry, so for the record, the differences between.
Yeah, I included
Right,
the
I
actual.
understand, so the record's clear.
Okay.
So you were kind enough to include the resolution of approval.
Right.
From back in 2019 for variance relief, and that was presented by Mr. Klesse that you just referenced.
That's right.
So and there were findings of fact and conclusions of law set forth in that resolution. The only difference between what was proposed in that application and this application is what?
I am going for building.
No, so just before we talk about the variances, Tom, just explain what the differences are between what was approved in 2019
Yeah.
and what you're now proposing here.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
The variances I'll state afterwards. The differences are that the prior building floor area was formally, it was approved at, I hope it's in here. It's not going to be in this. It's not in the prior resolution.
No,
I
that's
added
why I'm asking, because I didn't see it.
Yeah, I added about 70 square feet. It's
Okay.
approximate. It's not a lot, but it makes a small difference for us. So-
And that's excluding the attic?
Yes, this doesn't count the attic. The FAR is first and second floor only, but inclusive of the garages.
Plus an attic that did not previously exist.
Correct, and the attic that I'm putting in is about I have the square footages on the plans. So the attic is 363 square feet as measured to areas 6 feet, 6 inches and higher. So effectively, the areas of orange are identical to the prior application, except I pushed this area of orange along Nottingham Road out about 4 more feet. So some of the square footage is there and above it on the second floor. That's the preponderance of that 70 square foot difference. There's nothing else that could be done on this property without these 2 variances. The front yard variance for facing Washington, whereas 18 feet exists and 18 feet is proposed. No, 19 feet 5 inches is proposed. Sorry, let me, for the record, just get that straight. Yes, on Washington, 18 feet is proposed, 18.5 feet exists. And on Nottingham, 19 feet is proposed, whereas 19 feet exists. And that's because I'm filling in that little knuckle there, but this addition is 24 feet away. So the additions do not encroach beyond where they are today, but they are less than 40 feet, which is the requirement. And the reason it's such a clear C1 is if you go 40 feet off the front yard property line on Washington Avenue, you wind up in the front yard of Nottingham. And if you put the 40 feet on the front yard of Nottingham back, it produces a no building envelope. So this is a classic example of a property that existed way before zoning, is undersized for the neighborhood that it's in, certainly for our needs, and would promote the benefit to the municipality because as an architect with the story I mentioned, I think there's an incredibly poetic ending here for the storybook. So the storybook might have a good ending. I don't want to knock it down. I want to preserve it. I'm going to keep the third of the house that is the most picturesque. And on that picture boards that I sent out on the existing, you want this now? Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Sure. Really, the worst thing on it is this is not it. This is beautiful, but this is not. This part is where we're building over, and I think it's really a sales office that served as a home for many years. But I really believe I can do what was approved in 2019, where Lynn Ranieri, the former curator of our museum, testified that we'll follow the standards of the Department of the Interior in that the new additions will not be glaringly so similar as the existing home, that they preferred in the resolution that it be metal roof. And I'm going to introduce this zinc roof. Instead of points, mine are wilting, mine are melting. Mine reflect a 2023 storybook. And the contrast, that duality of aesthetics, to me is going to be an incredible ending to the storybook that started. So, sorry, a little bit of poetry, a little bit of house. You have anything you want to add? That's all we have.
So all the proposed improvements that are set forth in the resolution, you're going to be effectuating as well?
Yeah, there was one in there that they said no standing seam metal. I don't really have standing seam metal. I'm going to go to my elevation. I have it over the stairwell. And the reason is I don't want to be too jarring here. But if we go from the slate right to my zinc without this modern break, this is an intentional move to make this super modern staircase piece. Big old window with standing seam metal roof. What's in the resolution is that they didn't want standing seam metal, they wanted metal shingle. And I'm doing metal shingles on this part, so the story is really 3 parts. The 1925 home, the break with this modern hardy plank, and then this incredible wilted, almost dystopian vision of a storybook. That the storybook is told in a 2023 style. So that's the only difference from that resolution, is the identification that standing seam roof will not be on this house. Instead, it will be metal shingle, and I'm reintroducing it in this one area, and then going to metal zinc shingle. There's very few uses of zinc around here, by the way, on roofs. People use it for valleys and sometimes for shapes, for rounded shapes. The zinc shingle is going to be incredible. It's going to have this appearance of fish scales. So I'm very excited about it.
do you have a picture? I'd love to, do you have a picture of what
The zinc?
would look like?
Yes, I do. I should have brought it.
I know, I didn't think of it.
We
have pictures at home,
I don't think
I was
so.
just gonna say.
Oh, no, I got about like 85 phones at home, because they're all exhibits.
Can he show us and then print it and submit
Yeah.
it to Eileen so we could get a look at?
Yeah, we can incorporate that as part of an approval if you want.
Well,
Because
what we would ask is that if you have a screenshot of the zinc shingle roof that you're gonna show to the board, we're gonna sort of virtually mark it as an exhibit and be providing a copy of it to Eileen tomorrow.
Sure, all right, I'm gonna pass you my phone. You can screenshot it for Eileen, and then she'll get the hard copy tomorrow, so she'll see the match. I don't know how you blow it up.
You just use your fingers.
Okay, there you go. So you'll see on that house, it's incredibly, it's an interesting storybook. It's on a cliff in Spain, and it's the only application of zinc shingle in the world. Frank Gehry, a very renowned architect, uses zinc shingle on his first homes that he did 25 years ago, but now went to stainless steel. So the zinc is a much more natural roof. When I contacted the manufacturer, that the roof is like $250,000. The zinc is a 150-year roof. They warranty the product for 150 years. It does discolor a little bit, but it's built forever. It's used mostly in Europe. We don't have too many applications of zinc. But I thought in getting those curves and telling that story, that it would be a supporting element of it. I only have like 15 square of roof. Finding somebody to sell me that little was hard.
And I'm sorry, just, that's not the same roof that was proposed?
They never qualified what they were doing. They qualified it as in the resolution, which I gave you. I'll read from the resolution. Oh,
Well, it says that a portion of the roof over the addition would be slate to match the existing slate roof.
yes.
But the roof over the main or central portion of the home would be aluminum. In response to questions from the board regarding the use of aluminum roof over the main portion of the home, rather than slate, Lynn Ranieri testified that one of the principles associated with historic restoration is that new additions should be compatible but not identical to the original structure. As a result of the board's concern that a vertical standing seam aluminum roof would be too contemporary in appearance, the applicant agreed to use an aluminum roof in a diamond pattern to be more in character with the English Tudor architecture of the existing dwelling.
Right, we're
So-
just,
so
sorry.
why don't you explain why, despite that very well worded resolution analysis, that you're going in a little bit of a different direction?
So aluminum can't be bent. If it is bent, it's formed in that bend. And what happens when you do that with aluminum is you stress the outer core of it. And you need a softer metal like zinc or gold. Some of these metals are much easier to bend. Trying to form a flat roof at the very pinnacle of the curve can't really be done out of aluminum, because the aluminum would have to be a sheet at the very core, at the very top. And the beauty of this image is the way that the curves they all have the same shingle going around it. And that can only be done with a malleable metal like lead, like zinc, and that's where aluminum fails. The aluminum shingles they're referring to are this diamond pattern shingles. It used to be done it was very popular probably in the 30s. It's not much around here. You might find some on some homes in Wyoming. I know we did.
Are you able to show us also a picture of what those aluminum diamond shingles look like, just so we have some basis of
Yeah.
comparison?
And by the way, what we're gonna do is A3, which you're gonna, Tom, provide to Eileen tomorrow, is gonna be a screenshot of an example of a zinc roof.
Sure. A3, May 1st. Zinc roof.
And you wanna show us an A4?
Sure. try a different wording.
You don't have to if you don't feel that you need it for your presentation.
I'm sure, give me one more minute. I'm sure I can find one. Aluminum. sheet. Diamond, yeah.
Yeah,
Roof.
yeah.
Oh, I found one.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was a good call.
Thank you.
Okay, you're showing us what's been marked as A4 that you're gonna provide a copy of to Eileen for the record. And what are we looking at on your phone?
The aluminum roof that's depicted in A4 is a flat, of course, you can't bend these, but it's a flat diamond pattern roof that was on Tim Klessy's plans, which
were approved. the
were
previous
approved, and where my deviate is in the use of zinc in a more curvy way.
So if I got everything right, that is the one difference from the aluminum roof to the zinc roof, the curvy zinc roof. Second is the addition of 70 square feet at the back end, which is facing towards, behind your home.
Yep.
Towards Nottingham. And the third is adding an attic.
Yes, it's about 3 feet by 10 feet, times 2. Maybe it's 3.5. If it's 70, it's 3.5. And in the attic. Yes. The applications beside that are virtually the same.
And then the middle portion, let's say the contemporary
Yeah.
portion of it.
That's a
Yeah.
violation of what their intent was. So their intent was not to have aluminum standing seam roof.
Who's they?
Yeah,
Your board. The words you read expressed a concern over standing seam metal roof. And again, standing seam metal roof today is a very contemporary material. I use it all the time. It's beautiful, it's of the time. And I thought it was a good way to break between the zinc, so that the zinc is not up against slate. It's gonna start a fight because you have a competing element of aesthetics. One is gonna be the poor stepsister than the other. And I'm not sure if the 4-inch slate wins or my, thin zinc loses, but that was why I thought there should be a break.
but I guess what I'm still not fully understanding is your plan is contradicting what the board wanted, or it's the same?
Yes, my plan is contradicting that board's resolution in this one section right here.
What was supposed to go in that section? Was it more of that?
That aluminum roof for the whole thing. And the purpose, and let's talk about not the letter of the law, let's talk about the spirit of that. The spirit of that is to not fight old with new, not to try to say, hey, look, it matchy. And in some ways that lies to the public. It does not divorce itself enough, according to the standards of the Department of Interior for historic preservation, from the traditionalness of this. If we try to replicate the past, they would prefer you not do that. And they were expressing that through the roofing. But at the same time, caveating it, saying, yeah, but aluminum standing seam is so popular, we don't want that. And that was the spirit of their approval. It was not necessarily, I don't think, even though the letter says no standing seam, I think that they were looking not to be contemporary for the whole roof against the slate. And I am arguing that I think it's important to break it with a 2023, well, call it a 2000s material that we've been using for 25 years.
Did you take this, your this new plan, have you consulted with Lynn Ranieri?
No, Lynn
or
left.
Barton? She left, okay.
But I have.
Barton Ross is still here, so
Oh,
have you
yeah.
consulted with him?
No, I haven't talked to Barton. I talked to Allison Canfield. She knows I'm doing this. And I talked to Michelle Miller, who's on the Historic Society, showed her my plans. And she thinks it's good. It's not a preserved home, so
Yeah.
in some ways, I'm being a good caretaker. But beyond that, I haven't been vetted. No.
Quick question, have you thought about doing the whole thing in slate like it is now, but just repair? Or
So that's where the
replace
Department of the Interior, Historic Preservation, would prefer you not.
it? Okay,
Only in that particular paragraph, because they look at historic preservation as a sort of a preservation and not something intended to, mire the differences where you can't even tell where the old and new work against each other.
But we are going to be saving some of the slate and reusing it on the other part of the house.
Yeah, I think I have slate, like, there's gonna be some areas of the lower roof where the slates are coming off. I mean, I went there today, there's 8 inches of water in the basement. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about, it's coming right through this master bedroom and, so the answer of that, we'll keep some of the slate.
Slate's beautiful.
Yeah, some of it is 4 inches thick.
Yeah.
The roof weighs almost 25,000 pounds, the whole house. So it's heavy.
What does the zinc discolor to? You mentioned it discolors a little.
Silver to silver. So it's silver to darker silver, almost like gray.
Just oxidizes. Okay.
Yeah, it's pure protection, and you can't scrape that off. You should not be cleaning it. That's the protection of the metal.
Have you shown the plans to any of your neighbors of this property?
No, I haven't met any of the neighbors. We were in contact with 11, and it was a conversation, and she said, I just want to remind you, you don't live here, but we have property maintenance ordinance, so cut the lawn. So, I mean, we cut the lawn. It was 2 days after we bought the house.
Welcome to the neighborhood. You're welcome.
Yeah, yeah, I know, and I'm like, Elaine Becker, I know Elaine, but that's the reason we have a property maintenance ordinance. So we cut it last week.
Do you own the house already, or you're?
We closed on it 2 Fridays ago. It'll be 2 weeks this Friday. And Frank Landy allowed me to advance the application in his name. And then we changed it over when I took possession. I updated it. So we're not deceiving the public. It's full disclosure. It's me.
Now, the irregular lot, Tom, is probably because they took they subdivided all the property and they.
This was the sales office, Joe.
Yeah.
And that's where they left, whoever's left.
1925. You know how old the oldest ordinance is here? It's like 1953. The first setback ordinance was like, I think 53 here. We have it at the society. We have the first ordinances. Yeah, these properties are way before that.
Yeah.
So.
So adding a garage at the back end, I think there was one bay that you're going to add at
Yeah.
the back end. Does that meet with the requirements of how close it should be from the property line? Does that?
So for the side yard, yes. For the front yard, no. In fact, the front yard ordinance, the front yard variance we're going for is for this garage. But it's more, it's 19.5 feet or 18.5 feet because it's set back. This is 18 feet from the street, from the lot line.
Right.
Sorry, not the street. All right, and this is 6 inches more, so it's set back a little more. So it's not matching, it's actually lesser. But I want to point this out. This is all a 60-foot wide Washington Avenue right-of-way. It's the widest right-of-way I've ever seen in town. I never knew we had a 60-foot street. The street's only 25 feet. It's narrow. But half of my front yard, half of my driveway is in the street easement. It's the most unusual. Typical right-of-ways are 35 and 50. 60 is like, that would be a county road. I have no idea why Washington's setback is so big. If you took the circumference of where the property curb is, this property approaches 0.4 of an acre, but it's 0.21. It's.
What's this wood fence in the right of, on the property within the,
That-
is that within the cartway or?
Yeah, it's in the easement. It's not even supposed to be there, but it's been there. It's fallen over.
Is that gonna be removed?
Yeah. We would remove it as a condition of an approval if you want. That's a good add because that improves. I'm verbally telling you we're gonna remove it, but you can make that a condition. Because I know one thing, it should be in writing. If you notice, the house is very customized. A good part of the first floor is 2-car garages. That's what we want. A good part of the second floor, the master closet is bigger than 2 of the other bedrooms combined. Because this is, for us, this is an alternative to downsizing to a townhome. So.
You have a new covered hot tub deck. Where will that look out onto?
That is the coolest thing, that's on the roof. So you can't put any accessory use structures here. So I wanted a pool. We're gonna do this, like, I think it's stainless steel. Like, I called it a hot tub because there's no other word for it, because it has jets. Where's it gonna be? I'll show you. So on the roof of the house, here, in the attic, you go out these doors, and the roof is underneath a curve. So it's a covered area with an open rail. And the reason I had that photo board showing that that is 84 feet from the neighbor's garage is for that reason. Because at 84 feet away, past all the trees, you're not gonna hear anything. You won't hear people, you won't hear jets. So it's kind of quiet. And frankly, I got the idea from a client. I called Eileen on this because I don't know how the ordinance talks about hot tubs. So I had a client who wanted to put it on a deck. And she says, as long as it meets accessory setbacks, it's good. So it meets the accessory setbacks. And I'm like, that could be cool. Like, we have a pool now, we have 5 acres, you know, so it's a little residue.
Is this, but that's, this isn't on the front of any,
No, it's facing the side. It's facing this way. It's facing the 84-foot
Yeah.
setback.
And the roof area, this attic loft, that's gonna be sort of rec space up there?
No, we have a 23-year-old graduating Saturday from Iowa State. Yeah, so if you want to know what that attic is for, the bedrooms on the second floor, look at it, they're 9 by 10.
Yeah.
That's a full-size bed shown on that plan, it barely fits. So he might just take this as a pad, and he's gonna come work for me, so. Got a planning degree, Joe.
And I'm sorry, the rooftop, the roof hot tub?
Yeah.
It's not gonna be visible from the
No.
street?
No.
Or
It's sitting up at 20, I'm gonna say 22 feet above the street, behind a wall, under a roof that, you know, you might see someone's head pop out, but that's it.
Okay, but you don't need a variance for that?
No,
Okay.
no, there's not too many. I mean, I tried to find how many houses have a pool on the roof. I couldn't find one, so it's cool. You know, from that standpoint, it's something we're taking with us because we've had a pool. We're not taking with us, we're just a new one.
so it looks like it's only open on one side, that,
Yeah, it's underneath the roof line. So to be specific about it, you guys ask very good questions. It's under this roof line in here.
and that roof line's sort of, that's not
So-
facing Washington or.
No. If you had to show where the pool is, it's somewhere here, the hot tub, it's somewhere over here. It's behind this wall, under this
Okay.
roof. So
Yeah,
it's not visible.
it's, and the open one is to the side, the open
The
loft
opening
to the side.
is, I'll show it to you. Right there. That's where it's located.
How tall is the attic?
From to the underside of the collar tie, it's probably gonna be 8 feet. You know, you're limited. I have 32 feet on the height, so there's no height limits.
So, but in the end, the only relief you're seeking from this board relates to the setbacks from the right of way, correct?
Yeah, that, there's just 2 variances, the 2 front yards. There's no floor area, no building coverage, no lot coverage. It's exactly, if you know land use, it is actually the very definition of land use law, C1. The particular attributions of the land make it hard to comply.
Any other questions from the board? And I guess let the record show that we don't have anyone in the audience for questions or for comments. Do we want to go to comments, I guess, from board members?
Yeah, can you take over? Can you just go out there? I have to step out for this New Providence thing. I may step back in, but I need about 10 minutes. So my wife can.
She's gonna be your closer.
Yes.
That's a lot on
Don't
your
agree to
shoulders.
Um, so I'll start, actually. I love that the two of you have purchased this home and that you are going to do the work to it and take the, you know, the love and the care that a home like this deserves. I mean, this home is truly a gem in our town, and I think it's terrible that it's not historically, you know, designated in any way. So the thought of someone coming in and tearing it down or, you know, doing something like that to it, you know, is really, you know, it's terrible. That being said, I don't have any issues with the actual setbacks. My only concern is that it's gonna look a little crazy. And I'm curious to see what my other, you know, my fellow board members have to say. That's my only, you know, there's that piece of me that wants to say, you know, it's an architect who's, you know, who's doing the, you know, who wants to do the work. So, you know that it's gonna be okay, but I'm just concerned that the board did approve these other plans and made these like specific recommendations, and you're going against some of the recommendations. So, I mean, I'm keeping my mind open, but I'd just like to open it that way with those are kind of my only concerns. I'd like to see what my fellow board members have to say.
Well, I'll jump in on that. I know Tom and Monica's house, the house last house you had in Short Hills up on Tennyson. And they took maybe a contemporary house for the 50s and made it a showplace, just from the outside, walking by it. He's very good with, Tom's excellent with bringing in new concepts, he had a window once that opened 17 different ways. It was crazy. If there's anybody who has the ability to do something with this house, I would think it would be him. He's been on the Historic Commission in Millburn for a long, long time. If he's saying a zinc roof is the way to go, I think I might get a zinc roof on my house. But I mean, I do know the Bayos over the years. But I was just saying that I've been passing that house since I was right at Buster Junior High in the 70s. And it was intriguing at that point. And to look at it, I was there yesterday in the rain, and it is a mess. Yeah. So if there's anybody who can make a show of it, it's you two guys. So that's my thought.
Can I just add something just legally, just to remind the board that, one of the conditions of the relief that was granted via the prior resolution was that they had to pull a building permit within, 1 year. So that's 2019, 2020, even if you allow for tolling because of COVID, et cetera. The approval has expired. And there's nothing, if it's not, and the reason that concern needs to be paid, attention needs to be paid to this application is that it is not a preserved home. Yeah. So somebody can come in and take the bulldozer to it and do whatever they want to it, and then they would argue that it's a classic C1 and it's an undersized lot and it's fronting on 3, streets. So I think in looking at, differences between what was approved but expired and what is being proposed now, I think that should be thought through.
Thank you.
I'll go next. So I also drove by yesterday, and I wouldn't have been surprised if Snow White herself had floated out. It's unbelievably charming.
It's cool.
Cool,
Needs so much
charming,
work, though.
all of it. It just made me smile. In terms of the setback relief, I did notice that several of the homes in that neighborhood are also similarly close to the road. So I don't think, it doesn't look out of place now, and I don't think what you're proposing to do will look out of place either, because of where it is currently in the other homes. I'm also a little worried about the super modern window that's going next to the historic storybook, and I'm hoping that looks okay, but I don't think it matters in this variance, correct? Yeah, so.
Our jurisdiction actually is just limited to the setback, but obviously you look at the entire project.
Yeah, but again, I appreciate that you're taking this on, and I think it's gonna be a very, very cool project for you guys to enjoy. I would be comfortable approving this, sorry.
Any,
Clearly, a very challenging project as I saw it. I mean, I've crossed that multiple times on all the three roads and at that very corner to kind of, do what you are proposing here. I think it's going to look great. And just with your concern, yes, it could look, a blend of old and new and, don't know how it looks because never really seen one. But from the pictures that were shared, the zinc roof, I think could look very good. So again, that's not part of the project, but just generally, from a variance perspective, it's classic C1, so there's no concern on that front. And then the fact that you're taking it up on such a tight lot, be able to, make something out of it, I think it's a great task.
Thank you.
All the best.
I just would be reiterating what my colleague said, but I do want to thank you for taking this on because I had never seen that house. I walked by it today and it clearly needs a lot of work to make sure that it's kept up. But it's an amazing house and I just smiled when I saw that house and this house needs to be preserved. It needs to be taken care of. It feels like that's what you want to do. And so thank you for that.
Anyone else? Would someone like to make a motion? Sir?
and I'm assuming that the applicant agreed as a condition of approval to remove the fence that's in the right.
Oh, yes, Do we need to state, put that in there
Oh, right.
as a condition?
I'll make a motion to approve calendar 3922-23.
Second.
With the condition.
Oh, with the
that
condition
they-
that as stated, the fence.
Second.
Who was that, Karen? Chandru Harjani,
Yes.
Amy Lawrence,
Yes.
Terry Rosen,
Yes.
Virginia Truitt,
Yes.
Joseph Caulfield,
Yes.
Jessica Black.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank
you.
Let the record reflect
We're
that-
excited.
that this
I'm a little
application-
nervous.
This application was going down the tubes until Monica saved it.
Yeah,
Be sure to
I'm
tell
an attorney
Tara.
as well. So
Thank you.
Actually, I've appeared before.
When we first saw the house, I was like, oh boy,
Yeah.
this
And
needs
also-
everything. But it is really gonna be exciting. It's really a beautiful
Reminds
home.
me of a wonderful nice little Christmas movie where they go
I
to the
know.
house.
It's really gonna be cool. I think,
That was actually 20 years ago.
when he does, I was a little nervous when he said about.
I just wanna cut just for what, we're still on, sorry. So I want the record to reflect there's, again, no one in the audience to ask if there are any matters not related to tonight's agenda that want to be discussed. And I will, do someone like to make a motion to
Motion to adjourn.
adjourn? So moved?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Irene, are we off?